Nobody thought a halftime scuffle would turn into one of the biggest roster headaches the Steelers will face this season, but here we are. This isn't just about a punch in the stands or a viral clip. It's about money, opportunity, and a team trying to hold together a fragile title window while a single emotional moment suddenly reorders everyone's plans. The guy who just spoke up about it all, Ben Roethlisberger, a Steelers legend who thinks the suspension might actually open a door for somebody else on the roster. The setup was ugly and fast. DK Metcalf, one of the NFL's fiercest competitors, got tangled with a fan at halftime in Detroit. Video clips circulated, the league stepped in. 2 games. Metcalf will miss the final regular season contests. On paper, it's discipline for an on-field star, but in the locker room and across the AFC North, it's suddenly a test of depth, timing, and whether this team can pivot without missing a beat. For a franchise like Pittsburgh, that choice matters for more than a game or two. The Steelers are juggling injuries, divisional dynamics, and a quarterback in Aaron Rodgers who's expected to come back and carry the offense. Remove Metcalf, a physical alpha at receiver, and you don't just lose catches. You lose matchup nightmares for opponents, a chain-moving presence on third down, and a threat that forces safeties to stay honest. The immediate football problem is obvious. The hidden ones? Less so, and potentially far more consequential. Ben Roethlisberger from his podcast Mike framed it in a way only a franchise icon can. This may be a painful development, but it could also force a needed look at the roster. He named Roman Wilson, a young receiver with talent but no consistent role, and suggested this might be the moment Wilson finally gets a hat and real snaps. That line sounded simple, but it carried weight. Roethlisberger wasn't celebrating Metcalf's punishment. He was pointing to an unfamiliar silver lining. Necessity creates opportunity. Roman Wilson's story so far reads like a cautionary tale. Drafted with promise, sidelined by injuries, and shuffled behind veterans, he's had flashes but not the runway to show consistency. 12 games, 12 receptions through much of the season, not the profile of a future starter. When the team acquired Adam Thielen, Wilson's path to the field got steeper. He's been inactive lately. Coaching staffings, chemistry questions with Rodgers, and the scrutiny that follows every young receiver have all conspired to keep him on the periphery. And yet, this is exactly the kind of moment where young players either rise or fade. The NFL eats depth for breakfast. When a top option is suddenly unavailable, opponents alter game plans, coaches reshuffle packages, and the guy who was ready on paper suddenly has to play like it matters. That pressure can reveal talent, or it can expose why a player wasn't trusted in the first place. There's a human dimension here, too. Teammates publicly support Metcalf while privately processing the disruption. Coaches must balance short-term wins with long-term development. Front office folks monitor the financial ripple effects. And fans, divided between anger over the incident and hope for an unexpected breakout, are watching everything with a magnifying glass. Now, the thing I held back to this point, the detail that changes how you should read Roethlisberger's optimism, is this. Metcalf's suspension doesn't just mean 2 missed games. It potentially triggers a financial cliff in his contract that could cost the Steelers roughly $40+ million in guaranteed money, depending on the clauses and how the team chooses to respond. That's not theoretical. It's the kind of payroll calculus that can shift personnel decisions overnight. Suddenly, what looked like a short-term discipline thread starts tugging at the very seams of the roster and the front office's long-term plan. If that money becomes at risk, the organization faces a brutal question. Do you protect the guarantee and weather a PR storm, or do you lean on contractual language and move on, freeing up resources but fracturing trust with your best players? Either road has consequences. Protect the guarantee and you carry the cap and the optics. Void it, and you might solve a financial problem but create a reputational one. For a franchise that prizes toughness and loyalty, that's not an easy choice. On the field, the immediate chess game is simpler. Who steps up? Calvin Austin III's hamstring issue already complicates depth charts. If Austin's out, Wilson's path widens even more. Coaches may be tempted to lean on package plays, quick game concepts, or increased play action to conceal inexperience. They could emphasize the run to reduce pressure on Rodgers in the passing game, or They could call a trial by fire, throw Wilson in, see what he can do, and bet that the team's veteran presence will shepherd him through. Each choice tells you what the organization values in that moment: conservatism or urgency, continuity or reinvention. There's also the Rodgers factor. Aaron Rodgers is a quarterback who demands precision and timing. He's been ruthless in his preparation and specific about who he trusts on the field. For a young receiver to flourish now, chemistry with Rodgers has to be forged quickly. Routes crisp, reads synced, and a willingness from Rodgers to trust the rookie under duress. Roethlisberger's point isn't that Wilson is already ready. It's that the team will finally see him under game pressure and get real answers about his projection. Don't forget the divisional context. The Steelers' grip on the AFC North could change with every snap in the next 2 weeks. If Baltimore stumbles or Cincinnati slips, Pittsburgh could win the division without a perfect run. That possibility gives coaches breathing room. It offers a chance to use these final weeks as a deeper evaluation period rather than all-or-nothing desperation. Roethlisberger hinted at that, too. If the division can be clinched early, the front office might feel freer to experiment, to hand Wilson more plays, and to see who else can step up beyond the headline receivers. But there's risk in experimentation, especially now. Playoff seeding, home field advantages, and the momentum that comes from late-season wins aren't small things. Roll the dice, and the team could gain a new weapon. Play it overly cautious, and you might squander an already limited window to build trust in the roster. The balance the Steelers strike will reveal how serious they are about development versus immediate results. There's also a cultural question bubbling under the surface. Metcalf's actions, the fans' alleged provocation, and Rodgers' public defense all force the league to reckon with the stadium experience. Is taunting now beyond the pale? Should fan conduct policies be tightened? Can the NFL realistically police behavior in the stands without stripping away the rowdy essence that makes games compelling? Those are league-wide debates that trickle down to each franchise and will shape how teams protect players in the years to come. In the next 2 weeks, we'll see whether Roman Wilson is given a hat and a chance. And if he seizes it, this suspension might be remembered as the moment a young player grabbed his career. We'll also watch the contract conversations behind closed doors. Will the Steelers stand by Metcalf's guarantee, or will they let clauses kick in and reshape their payroll? Either outcome reshapes this team's identity. And beyond all the numbers and snap counts, there's the simple human story. A young player who's been waiting for his moment, a locker room juggling loyalty, and a franchise that suddenly must choose between its short-term hopes and its long-term blueprint. So here's what I'll leave you with. Not a tidy conclusion, but a live question. If a suspension can create an opening for a player like Roman Wilson, does that make it an opportunity worth leaning into? Or a crisis that exposes how thin a contender really is?